Okay. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We're going to be starting very welcome to this masterclass. And yeah, please let us know in the chat where you are dialing in from. If it's sunny Cape Town or cold Johannesburg, or maybe it's KZN. Love to hear where you guys are dialing in from, who you are, what organization you're from. This is a great opportunity to also meet other like-minded people. So let us know where you're dialing in from. We are expecting about 500 people on this masterclass today. So we're in good company. We're very excited to be here today. I'm sitting in Cape Town. It is, I think it was about 27 degrees yesterday. It is beautiful. Some of my colleagues were in Johannesburg yesterday, and it was the opposite, cold and miserable. So I don't know how much of a difference that makes to life. So yeah, we're going to give it a couple more seconds. They're streaming in. The people are streaming in. So welcome to this masterclass, which is brought to you in partnership between Topco and Nedbank. I'm joined here by a very special guest, Nirmala Reddy, who I'm going to introduce just now. And we were talking about meditation, staying calm, and Nirmala was sharing that she did Kriya Yoga today. So I'm not sure what you're doing for your mental health. So great stuff. I think we're going to get going. Welcome to this masterclass series on enterprise development. And really, I suppose the key thing is learning how they thrive. The multiplier effect. So how are organizations thriving in enterprise development programs? Like I said, I'm joined by Nirmala Reddy, strategic specialist enterprise development at Nedbank. So welcome. So I've just got some points for the agenda. Welcome, everybody. I'm not sure if any of you have been on the Topco Nedbank Masterclass series before. If you have, let us know. If you haven't, congratulations and welcome. We've got some great content for you today. So just a quick overview. I'll be introducing our guest. We'll be doing some polls. So please join us in those discussions with the polls. We want to hear your opinion. This masterclass is for you. So we're just sharing some insights from Nirmala. We've got an hour, a little bit more than an hour and a half. She's got 20 years of experience with Nedbank. So, you know, we're very, very fortunate to have this expert with us. She's an award-winning executive. So it's important that you guys get those questions coming. We will ask you to put it in the Q&A. So there's a chat and then a Q&A tab. Please put your questions in the Q&A as we go along. We'll try and answer those questions near the end. But put it in and we'll look at that. And really it's around enterprise development. There's two aspects really, I suppose, is what are the corporates doing? And then what can enterprises do to procure more work, to drive better relationships? So we've got key data, case studies, some examples that's really going to, you know, inspire you and give you some insights. And then obviously the questions at the end from you. Let me just tell you a little bit about Topco and myself. So our purpose is really to be the trusted network of top companies in Africa, and really, I suppose, so we've been researching companies, the top 10,000 companies roughly in South Africa for about 25 years. And for us, we're looking for excellence. These case studies that we're going to bring you today, I think all organizations in their journey have strengths in certain areas and a focus in certain things, and they're challenged in others. And so really for us around researching best practice and then having these awards that sort of celebrate the very best of the best, and with a clear distinction of the award looking for the impact they're creating. So beyond the impact they're creating to communities, to the organizations, to society, we are fixated really with making sure that we're helping our customers to do good business. And we understand that sometimes is a challenge. We're always stuck in different parts of business in our careers. And so, we also have publications, summits, websites, podcasts, newsletters, and masterclasses like this, where we really try and educate the audience. Obviously, these are some of our other platforms. And I think, clearly what's important to us is transformation, sustainability, human capital, and then obviously things like technology is really, really important. So as I mentioned, these are some of the publications that I'd encourage you to subscribe, because this sort of content lives on these platforms. Top Empowerment, which is a initiative that Nedbank has actually invested in with us earlier this year. They partnered us on the Top Empowerment conference. I think we're trending on Twitter for a couple of days. It was like fantastic. I think we had close to 7,000 people online for that event, and we had some amazing discussions. And really, it's around how do we create a trusted network of top empowered companies and entrepreneurs in Africa. And for us, one of the things that was missing is that we have an award-winning organization in Nedbank as well. They've won awards through their enterprise development program, and pitched up against some very, very formidable both international and local organizations. We felt this was a great opportunity to again share. We understand that if we're going to drive the economy, if we're going to drive growth, we really need to be also driving our small, medium enterprises. And big corporates have a big role to play in that. And so we thought, people are often asking, how do we do that? How do we drive what is best practice? And so for us to be able to get the insights and the I suppose expertise from Nirmala was critical for us. And why is Nirmala important? Not because Nedbank's an award-winning organization in terms of enterprise development, not because she's been there for 20 years, but I think more than that. I think Nirmala's experience is something that when I looked and when I spoke to her, I was sort of in awe. It made a lot of sense for me. She started actually at Nedbank 20 years ago in strategic business acquisition. And I thought that was really important, because I think there's many organizations who are looking to acquire either enterprises to procure from, or you've got organizations who are looking to do business with big enterprises. So for me, that strategic acquisitions part was really, really incredible, that insight on the ground. And then she worked with a tender team, and she was the manager of the tender team. And again, she worked there for almost 3 years with both the public and private sector tender management and response at Nedbank. And again, there we understand that the procurement, tendering, enterprise development, they all fill in a role. So the acquisition as well, that's sales focus. She's now the enterprise and development executive on strategy. So, and really responsible for transformation and enterprise and supply development. So welcome to the Masterclass, Nirmala. I suppose the question I have for you is why is all that experience so important to your role?
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Ralph, and good morning to our wonderful audience that's joined us. Yes, it's quite a versatile range of expertise that I have. And I mean, prior to that, a step before Nedbank is also I worked for an NGO within communities. So there's also that different angle that comes in, which really, I think what works in my favor in terms of strengths would be the participative engagement techniques that we used, and just mediation and all of that. So I think all of that holds me in good stead in being able to deliver. And I think holistically, what it does, it gives me the ability to literally be the voice and the face from an internal and external perspective, and really keep us relevant in terms of what it is that we're doing, that it is actually responding to the needs of our clients and potential clients, and within the broader SME space, understanding that at the end of the day, when we are working with businesses, the human beings behind the businesses are the ones that we really solving for in terms of solutions and products and services and the way in which we actually reach them. So I think holistically, it certainly held me in good stead in terms of constantly reinventing and recreating and having a good hold in terms of as much as the market dynamics have been, constant, ever-changing platform, together with all the other facets which drives enterprise and supply development. I think the range of expertise has enabled me to keep a handle at the best of times.
I got this feeling when I first sort of met you that I know why you've won awards, and I know why you're doing well, because you more hands-on sort of effect. It doesn't seem like you got this halo of, I'm above you. You got a very sort of humanness about you. And so I was wondering how important is that for this sort of role?
I think it's very important. I think when we look at, the fact that our market growth, where it's coming from, we have to be able to understand the importance of being flexible and adaptable. And I think beyond that, beyond just the work front, for me, my philosophy in life is that you learn every day. And I, as a rule, there's two things that I always practice. And one is, what is my point of joy for the day? So at the end of the day, when I reflect, and the other is that, what did I learn and from whom? And that means, it's from a little child to an adult to just something. So I think that's important, to really be grounded and to understand that these pearls of wisdom, or these wonderful moments of innovation and what could be as a potential program, would come from the most weirdest places. But it's to be very grounded in the moment and to really be present when we're engaging on whichever level with people.
That's certainly been my experience with you. But I'm just going through your LinkedIn profile, and maybe we can bring that up as well. So people, if they do want to link in with you later in the chat, we can put that up. But being the change, and I think you are that. And I notice in your bio, it says, life is an exciting journey. Be bold, be brave. Let passion and joy be the compass for where you place your next step. Amazing. We're so honored to have you with us today. Let me just get into some of the key learnings that we want to go through today. So at least you know what you're going to be taking away. Enterprise development is a dance of constant change. I don't think anyone doubts that. It's how we adapt. The importance of collaboration, stakeholder inclusivity. How do we get people to back us? It's so important. How to support businesses to break through the barriers of the mind before breaking through the ceiling of supply chain. Wow, isn't that incredibly important? The factors that can derail and prevent enterprise development programs from achieving its objectives. This all sounds very, very, very close to home for us. And the non-negotiables in enterprise development that are key for sustainable growth and development, economic and social change. So those are what we're going to go through today. We're very honored to welcome you. And I suppose let me kick it off by sort of stop sharing and letting you sort of take the reins here a little bit, Nirmala. But I mean, can you help us showcase Nedbank's approach to enterprise development and really help us to understand the impact on the social and economic perspectives? I suppose for me, the first thing is really help us understand the importance of the collaboration, the growth, the flexibility in these successful programs.
Absolutely. I think, Ralph, to start off, I must just say that enterprise and supply development has a framework that's defined by the codes, and there's a matrix that provides the do's and don'ts. And I'm sure most of the audience on today are very familiar with that. However, I think I can share with you and the audience that a personalized Nedbank take on what happens when you internalize enterprise and supply development within the DNA of the organization and you integrate this into business strategy. I think that's when the magic happens, when you really take it within and practice it from a different perspective beyond just the framework. Nedbank's enterprise and supply development approach is inclusive and multifaceted. I think for many online today, we'd also be very aware that you've got to have that multifaceted approach to really be reaching as much as you can in terms of businesses and with such varying needs. So I think the important focus is to unlock opportunities for ongoing growth and sustainability. And this means that we need to have a flexible approach to accommodate for the different businesses that are at different business life cycle stages. And further to that, we have the industry focus. We have, the fact that entrepreneurs are human beings and they're running the business. So they're going to, operate at different levels in terms of ability to take in information, in terms of understanding of business acumen and all of the necessary things that are essential for business support. So I think, Ralph, if we come back to the point that human beings are at the core of the business, it's also very important to focus as much on the mindset of the entrepreneur, the business owner, as it is on the business development itself. I think that is key. And that's one of the things that has worked very well for us as Nedbank in our programs and our implementation. There is never a foolproof, infallible program or intervention when it comes to enterprise and supply development. All of us know that there's many moving parts to it. We have the business owners, we have the marketplace, industry requirements. Very rarely will you find all of this lining up and being perfectly in place to run a program. So what do? We make sure that we have, through the power of that is unlocked through collaboration, that we are aligning as much as possible within the means at that point in time when you're ready to whatever it is that you want to engage in. And the benefit of this collaborating and bringing all of the different role players together is it's really and truly simply common sense more than anything else. Firstly, if we consider us as Nedbank, we're a financial institution. One of the uniqueness about that is that as a bank, we can complement any industry. But we also understand that we are just one piece of the puzzle, that the full value chain of what constitutes the business and how it runs complies of various different other stakeholders and role players. So when you are engaging in enterprise development, you want to bring as much of those components as possible across the business value chain. And I think that is a real important element. I think that the importance of collaboration is that when there are red flags across a program or in across businesses, I think you have the right people around the table to engage and to actually solve for it. I think when it comes to collaboration, we're able to leverage competencies, strengths, and also benefit from the collective resource and skills that are out there. And even budget-wise, I mean, if you're working on a big project, you may want to actually work together because there's a win-win for all. I think if anything we learned from the pandemic of recent times, it's that Business 101 has changed. It's a lot about co-creating and collaboration, and it just makes for, mitigating risk and making sure, and there's enough for everyone. It's actually, when you co-create and collaborating, definitely working towards success and towards a common objective. So I think ultimately, Ralph, there isn't really a silver bullet for enterprise and supply development. I think there are going to be it's the norm in this environment. There's going to be unknown elements that come up, challenges that arise. But if the organization itself aligns and integrates the ESD strategy within the business focus, then you have all of the business role players, both internal as well as external on board, those that are critical for the particular program. Then you actually manage and monitor your way through to success. I think that is important. And yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, that mindset issue is really important. And we spoke about it earlier. I was saying that we've had some of our suppliers were previous employees, and they've moved sort of like a side hustle working with us, and they've moved to now supplying us. And I suppose that mind shift we're talking around it is that focus, attention. Their attention is growing the business, and then the mental side, though, the health. We're talking about yoga and keeping calm and looking after ourselves. But how important is that, working with your suppliers and engaging with them like they're humans as well?
That's absolutely critically important. I think when we get involved with programs and general understanding of making impact from a transformation perspective into industries as well, we need to be mindful that at the center, the core of this whole drive is actually the the one that drives the business, and that's the business owner. The one that drives the strategy, the one, when you jump out of bed every morning, the extent that you are in a good mood and that you are in a good space is going to be how on the ball you are and whether you're going to be able to identify an opportunity when you see it. So if you're exhausted, if you're going through a lot of stress and challenges in your personal life, it's definitely going to have an impact on your ability to have that clear view, to be able to think fast on your feet, to be able to see opportunities amidst the chaos. So contrary, there's this, as entrepreneurs, you tend to want to be a jack of all trades and you are super busy, but you really need to make time to sort of feed your spirit, as I refer to it, to actually make sure also that you are taking care of yourself, but beyond that, to also make sure that you're on top of your game. And being on top of your game means that you got to go out and do your research, understand what's happening out there in the marketplace globally, as well as locally. And that means that's your me time. That's when you need to actually take time out and just rejuvenate and recalibrate. So you're maintaining that zest for why it is you are there in the first place as the business owner or part of that environment.
Yeah, there's so many podcasts I've done with executives who have started in their entrepreneurial journey and they're very successful now. And I asked them, what was the differentiator? And it was exactly that point. They looked outside, they looked internationally at what was the trends, where things were going. And I suppose all organizations, even including Nedbank, are looking for innovative suppliers, right? Who can not just supply, but add value, be the experts in their field. And so it's around reinvesting your business, but reinvesting your skills and capabilities. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think, this whole aspect of co-creating is so important. And, on many levels, I refer once again to the pandemic and the impact of that in the marketplace. Both ends of whether you're a small business owner or whether you're part of a corporate, there's been significant challenges around just getting back on your feet again and reinventing yourself. It's been significant, and I think there's this aspect of co-creation, which I think from the business owner's perspective, to really understand what is it that drives the business, the corporate that you want to engage with from a supply chain point of view, and to really try and see, I think it's, to understand what is the values, the mission, what actually is at the heart of this business that you want to become a supplier to, you want to do business with. And also give yourself a good long reflection in terms of, okay, do you resonate? And if you do, how can you actually innovate your current existing profile of products and services, and to kind of address, there's a kind of like a synchronization, or there's synergies that it makes it so much easier. I think we know that there's quite, when it comes to supply chain integration, it's not the easiest. And from a business that's looking in from the outside, you've got to actually be creative. You've got to think outside of the box. And one of the ways in which I recommend is actually getting to know the potential client that you want to get involved with, and say, what is it that I can actually solve it for them in their world, or I can be a part of a solution working towards, and start those discussions and really get the conversation going.
It's funny you mention that, because I see in the first poll, some of the results are piling in. So just please, if you haven't answered, please do. But, what is the most important criteria for any program? Number one is coming up, stakeholder engagement, which is exactly what we're talking around, right? People actually want to be engaged. I suppose the challenge for corporates is, do you have the time to engage? But if you want a successful plan, you want to engage with your suppliers. And it should go both ways, right? So experience and track record, we think, is important. It's getting 18% of the votes. Selection criteria, obviously, we're going to talk about the selection criteria and why that is important, but that's only 16%. And accredited training content's only 16%. But so a majority, almost 50%, 49% of people are saying stakeholder engagement. It's the basics. We're humans. All those other things are important, but that's the most important. And then the most common recurring need for your supplier ED program participants, business development 24%, access to funding 35%. That's really interesting.
Yes.
And so how do we help them with that access? It's going up to 36%. Capacity building and business acumen 26%, and mentorship 15%. So access to funding, I mean, in my own personal view, access to funding and business development are linked, because one is reliant on other people and the other one is reliant on your own business, because you can get funding, but you have to pay it back. But when you're driving business with funds coming from your customers, that's always going to be a better source of income than paying someone else back.
Yes, I think if I could just start with the just respond to the what is the critical criteria, what is the core aspects of what constitutes the successful ED program. I think that it just depends which side you are sitting and looking at. I think from as a participating business, and maybe from a service provider that's actually implementing programs, you would say stakeholders. Yes, I can see why that would come up. I think from the ESD funder, though, we would place just as much importance on the stakeholders as we would on the selection criteria. We've seen firsthand that if you don't have the right caliber and a good fit, as we know, that's actually very important. As we know, every step of a program when you're implementing is a monetary value attached to it. So the last thing you want to do is come a long way down the process and then realize that there's challenges with the businesses that are participating. So I would just say that it just depends which side you are on and where you're looking at it from which perspective. And I think overarchingly, absolutely, each of those are equally important. And I think they all make up at the end of the day for a successful implementation. But coming back to the recurring needs of businesses, yes, it is actually quite interesting, the feedback on the poll, Ralph. I think, we've actually seen from experience, as well as and lots of surveys have shown that more important than funding is actually the knowledge, the lack of knowledge, and the the understanding within an industry to be able to do business in that, and to be able to raise the bar in terms of the business operations and various other aspects. So I think when you're a business owner, I think at first protocol, the immediate response is that, yes, I need money to grow. But when you're actually in the situation, and we've seen it with many, many programs, as a bank, when we implementing programs, I mean, that's what we do. Our business is to lend money. But we do have to walk a long journey with participants before they are ready to tap in on funding, because there's so many different facets within the business you need to address and be ready for it. So I think it just depends where you are at, Ralph.
Cool. I just want to make a quick note here. We've got 500 people who have joined us. The participation is really amazing. We've got over 100 people answering the polls here at the moment. So we'd love to hear what you've got to say, and we'll be sharing this insight with you later. But this is obviously Nedbank's here to help and to give some insights into what they do and how they work. But you've got a great opportunity to help one another. So on this platform, please introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're doing. Collaboration, we said, is critical here. So this is a great opportunity to network and really meet other people. What I'd also like to encourage is, if you're getting questions that you want us to answer, we will answer. If you can put them in the Q&A, there is a Q&A tab separate to the chat. So chat is introducing yourself, talking to one another. Q&A is directly for Nirmala. So if you've got any pressing questions, I just want to go and finish off these poll questions, just give you some feedback. And I don't really know what to make of this question, but what is the ideal time frame from an ED intervention? And 6% got 6 months got 22%, 12 months 38% of the vote, 24 months got 21% of the vote, and 36 months 20% of the vote. That sounds a little bit odd to me. That seems like the intervention is, the ideal ESD intervention. What are your thoughts there, Nirmala?
Yes, I think it just depends. Ideally, a short term, if you really want to make a meaningful difference in a business, 6 months is not really going to be adequate. In terms of engaging, you're only really getting to understand the business within that frame of time, unless it's something industry specific and you're really just upskilling and, training and transferring acumen. That's a different story. But if you're looking at intensive business development, mentorship, and really, business acceleration, you want to go longer than 6 months, definitely. So I think probably there again, maybe the vast difference is probably because we're looking at various different sectors and industries. I think that's also something that's quite interesting. I think the enterprise and supply development itself has that overarching framework, but within the different sectors, there's various different focus points which really drive the strategic thrust from that industry point of view. So I would say that it's probably, based on where they're looking at it strategically.
Cool. And then, we've got 2 more questions. The fourth question is, are your ESD programs designed around business vision and values, business growth opportunities, or need within the economy? And I mean, business growth and opportunities got a massive 68%.
Yes, that's interesting. I think at the heart of it is it's all about business growth opportunities. That's bringing in the sustainability component, and I think the other elements are very key as well to almost drive the strategic thinking around creating meaningful opportunities. I think we also want to be cognizant of the other aspects, because that can very often, when you're looking at how do you just create, facilitate economic activity, or even prompt in, the organization that you want to do business with. Say, have you thought about this, and position yourself for that opportunity as well. So I think definitely those other components can be used on the path of actual business growth and opportunity.
And the last question was, what is the key indicators of success for ESD? Growth in turnover, increase in jobs created, and number of new clients acquired. Growth in turnover 43%, increase in jobs created 34%, and number of new clients acquired 23%.
Yes.
We're going to talk about this a little bit, eh?
Yes. I think my comment there, Ralph, would be that it depends. When we think about enterprise and supply development from a transformation perspective, then your key indicators would change. Then maybe your key indicators would be not necessarily turnover linked as much as it would be the jobs created, or some other specific element that's unique to the sector that is driving the transformation element. So I think there as well could be very much dependent on the focus that you're looking at, but all are very, very critical. We certainly monitor all of those components for all of our programs.
Yeah, I met someone the other day who is a supplier to a big organization, and they did a big project for them. And in fact, the project ended up yielding a loss. And they were asking for some help from me and explaining that the customer was actually asking for a decrease in costs. And so I think it's also important that it shouldn't just be around turnover, that you've got to look at the profitability of these projects, and you've got to make sure that it works. And you can't be spending more than you're bringing in either. There needs to be other indicators that is important, because I think one indicator is turnover, which is fine, but as long as there's the profitability with that as well, and you're doing things in an economically viable way and responsible way as well. And I think jobs are great and important and something that we need to drive, but I think we're going to drive more jobs if the profitability and the revenues sort of in the right place. Cool. So thanks so much for your feedback on those polls. I think we're going to jump back into our sort of presentation of award-winning organizations, what they're doing around ESD. Thanks for your insights there. So I mean, going back, so what are the features of successful companies? I mean, what features would you be looking for assessing supply relationships and strategic business acquisitions?
I think we're really looking for businesses with the potential for growth and expansion, And that means that the business owners themselves want to have the right attitude. I think even if acumen or the technicalities there are some challenges, we found that those with the right attitude and want to the can-do kind of demeanor it works really well when it comes to really leveraging the most out of programs. I often refer to, there's these archetypes that you have in the entrepreneurship space, and they're literally the innovator, the expert, the visionary, the builder, the delegator. I think there's the other one, and ideally want to, I think, have a good understanding if you're sitting from the corporate perspective and looking at integrating businesses within the supply chain. You want to have a good understanding and a good mix in terms of abilities, skills, outlook. That comes through very clearly in the way the business is presented. And I think we want to have a sense of, the flexibility has got to be there. We want to, I think we also look at, the initiative that business takes. And I always say, when it comes to integration into supply chain, businesses are always trying to get in, and there's various ways that you can do it other than just going onto a database and just waiting. And that is to take the initiative, as I mentioned earlier, and look at problem solving and saying, okay, what are the gaps in this? What are the challenges that an organization is looking for? So you have to have a certain method, a certain way of thinking to be able to have this self-starting initiative. And I think those are the kinds of business owners, and that comes through very clearly when the way the business presents itself, the way in which they are forward-thinking. Those are some of the key things that I think are critical when it comes to things that corporates would look out for within potential supply chain businesses.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's an attitude thing. And I was going to ask you, how does that present itself, that attitude? But I think it's asking that question. And one of the things that we often ask our customers is, if we work together, what does success look like for you afterwards? And it's not, are we doing an event for you or a publication or whatever? That's almost a given. It's what other value added opportunities are you looking for from me that maybe I do or don't have that you would. And it could be like share a voice. It could be, reputational improvement. So are you asking that question? Are you engaging with the enterprise as well? Not just receiving questions, but are you engaging?
Absolutely. Yes. It's really thinking differently. I think it's no longer just about price and simply just, straightforward product and price. It's actually a lot more.
So I mean, I suppose the next question is what are the common pitfalls in this area? So, we have these serial program participants and, how does one enable businesses to break free from repeated programs and actually scale the business to fly?
Yes, that's quite a common phenomenon. I mean, it's almost like you see the familiar faces in various different programs. I think as a large corporate, as Nedbank, we implement many programs year on year. And when you do see the same faces, right away you get an indication of the kind of implementation agent that is actually doing the implementation of the program itself, as well as the entrepreneur, because at some point you can't be constantly on that learning and development phase. You actually have to go and land it. You actually have to go and implement it. So I think from our perspective, I would say that this is something that you can very easily pick up when you're doing the interview stage, the screening process, the selection process. It comes across very clearly, and we usually ask the question. I think at that point, you can actually identify whether there's actually a need to take that business on board onto the program or give someone else an opportunity. And I think it's sad that when we do have the serial entrepreneurs, because you're really doing yourself a disservice. You need to go away and start implementing and really taking your business through to the next life cycle stage, and so on and so forth, and really embedding yourself. And I think this is where, in terms of the programs that we implement, we put in objectives and commitments around implementation. And that's why we really say this is a journey. So it's not just about doing your program and exiting. It's about what happens thereafter. Are you implementing it? And how? What is the plan? What is your time frame? So I think a big feature of Nedbank's approach is the exit strategies that we actually integrate into all of our programs, so that we understand from a sustainability perspective what's happening. But more than that is that making sure that whatever is actually the transition of information, knowledge, skills, and opportunities within a program, that the participating businesses actually go and implement it and put it into play. I think this actually means that, like I say, going back to the selection process, but also the ongoing monitoring when the program is done, to literally evaluate and say, what have we actually achieved? And if we have not, then why did we not? What's gone wrong? So that's where the learnings come in. I think both for the funder, the implementation agent, as well as the participating business. So I think I'm hoping that we're seeing less and less of that out there within the arena. Certainly from a Nedbank point of view, we are very particular about these so-called serial entrepreneurs that move from one program to the next.
Yeah, I think Rilaba Gili put it really well. Pitchpreneurs in the chat there. So thanks for that. Never heard that before, but there you go. And just going on from that, because I think we sometimes do things for a reason, but there's so much more value to be extracted from these sorts of opportunities. And so one of the things that we see as a business is we see organizations like Nedbank, the DTI, numerous organizations doing amazing work around these programs. And both from the incumbent and the organization itself, I think keeping up communication after this process is critical, because actually that's where your story is going to come in. If you want to tell your story, you need to keep in touch with these people, because we've seen so many organizations absolutely blow up and win awards with us, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years after an ED program, because it does take a time for that maturity, that experience to come in place. So, my suggestion would be get in touch with your previous partnerships in both ways. So, I mean, what are the barriers to success? Malo, I mean, do you have any examples of successful beneficiaries for the masterclass?
Yes, I do. We have quite a few examples, and I think we'll go into that in a little bit. I think, though, to your question, I think there's various different checkpoints. I think just businesses with a propensity for growth and expansion. I think in terms of the success stories that we've had, we've seen how those businesses have actually transitioned across a period of time, coming into a program and really taking it on board and transcending into a place where, through the engagement of the mentors, the combination of mentors, the training, various components, literally just finding opportunities, either to diversification, tweaking products and services, and literally opening up a whole new world in terms of market access. There's various, we could spend the whole day going through lots of examples on that. But I think the most important thing is that what exactly is success when we talk about businesses participating in a program. And I think at the end of the day, it's really a combination. It's about, from the participating business perspective, the program in itself, is it resonating? Is it providing and offering what they need in terms of business development? I think that, that communication both ways has got to be ongoing. We find that when we talk about flexibility within a program, it is having the ability to actually tweak and amend and be adaptable if there's a need to. Also from the side of the funders, and it's like the program in terms of what the objectives that we identified up front. Is it going according to what we anticipated? And if not, why? So what can we do? Very often we found ourselves bringing in additional stakeholders and role players as we go down the line, because when we think about sustainability, we almost start to have this forward-thinking vision and say, okay, so this is the way we're going, the program is going. Very soon we're going to need to bring in an additional component. So I think that works very well from a Nedbank perspective, where we're literally having that constant check-in with the clear understanding that this is something that is a live, dynamic thing that we're working with. And I think this is where when we mentioned earlier, collaboration and stakeholder inclusivity, it's so important. When you have these different players on board already, and it's something when there's challenges or things that come up or some gaps in this program or in this initiative, you have all the relevant people on board. And so you're constantly working towards success and towards achieving these common objectives that you set for the program. Okay. So I think I would love to share some feedback. It's always great to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. We have actually a video that I'd love to share from one of our service providers. And just to hear his perspective. He actually implemented an initiative for Nedbank, and let him say what he needs to.
Okay. This is why you won the award.
Yes, correct.
My name is Jelani Ngomo. I'm the CEO of Machero's Entrepreneurship Center. Machero's Entrepreneurship Center was established in 2008 with a vision to develop and equip entrepreneurs so they become impactful, profitable, and inspirational. So our primary goal and real mission is to just support small business. The biggest and I think most important experience or value that I took from the Women in Tourism program with Nedbank was just the timing. I think the fact that tourism industry was one of the hardest hit during the lockdowns, and having a program that launched at a time when the economy was opening up and getting to a point where you're resuscitating, restructuring, and supporting these businesses to get back into operation, I think was one of the most purposeful programs I've ever been or we've been involved in as Machero's Entrepreneurship Center. The reception from the women was amazing. So we had 225 businesses across the country, and we ran this program where we would spend a week at a time per province. So I think the excitement was great at the beginning, but the affirmation of them coming back second month, third month at that rate of attendance was just amazing. Went back to the basics and started to explain the relationships between the various reports in the income statement and how you build up to developing those financial statements and how you interpret and read them and use them to inform future decisions in the business. And as a result of that, we saw, individuals that are in their 60s getting a sense of excitement, engaging in Excel, using Pastel. My experience was that there is that ease of process and contact, and you get a sense of direct feedback is very engaging with Nedbank and the team. And I think that ease of access, between us, Machero's Entrepreneurship Center, and Nedbank, and also Nedbank and the beneficiaries, open, clear access when beneficiaries needed to engage with Nedbank, they would have that access and still do. Or you have $1 million in your account, you need to understand how to manage 10 brands, 50 brands, and so forth, and grow from that. So I think the approach to Nedbank of flexibility and also understanding the concept of money in a business has made the program the success that it became.
So from that video, Ralph, you would see that it was quite an extensive program, 225 businesses across 9 provinces, with 25 in each province. We started off the program with a clear cut objective, and that was to contribute to the reviving of the sector and earmarking women-owned businesses to support. And we very quickly realized that there were additional components that needed to be brought in. And as we were working our way through, we were able to be it was flexible enough to be able to bring those components in. In that instance, when we looked at the program itself, we had fantastic teamwork and with the stakeholders and role players, everyone coming on board. It really created so much of ease and created efficiencies in terms of development, actually going through from province to province and implementing. It was really, really exciting. And, when we talk about getting our hands dirty, this was a real classic example of it in terms of getting involved and getting hands involved across the board. And I think testament is to the fact that when we look at success factors in this program, it really differs. Whilst we as an organization, really we had our set of objectives. From the participating businesses, there was such a diverse range and age groups as well, different focuses. So I think success meant a varied different set of variables for different businesses. And that was what was really heartwarming about this program, that we really delivered on so much more than just the simple objectives that we as an organization had set out to achieve.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, just listening to the 60 plus people participating, how lit up they were. I think we sometimes get fooled that people aren't excited about these sorts of things in rural areas or by age, or we have to all be young or a certain type. But I think we've also experienced it when you go to the rural areas. There's something dynamic there. There's a hunger to learn, a hunger for help. And dynamism in different people. It's funny also about the money aspect, because I know it's central to your theme of helping people with their money. But I did a podcast with Sika Thomas about a week or so ago, last week, and the theme of the podcast is why you have to be a numbers person to be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs need to make money, or else they're going to run out of runway. They're not going to have a business if you're not looking at the numbers. But just going through some of these success factors, why is there an emphasis, I suppose, on helping businesses grow and becoming corporate ready? Because they're small businesses. Why is it important they're corporate ready and overcoming the challenges through flexibility, effort, creativity, and integration within the specific industry or sector? I'm mindful that we're running out of time a little bit, and we want to get to some questions from the audience. So I see there's a couple of questions if you want to add more while Nirmal is answering some of these questions.
Right. Yes, Ralph. I think, one of the things that is the sure thing is that the only constant is change. I think we've seen that, and with the economy and the world impact in terms of the different crises that's going on around us, it's shown us without a doubt that business with potential for growth and expansion are usually the ones that are most agile. That supporting businesses actually creates directly to the stability of the economy. So it just is absolute good business sense, as well as the fact that we're nurturing our future clientele. I think, we definitely, if we can have a role in supporting and nurturing, developing, absolutely, that's the way to do it. When we talk about, getting businesses corporate ready, I think it's, you definitely think transformation, and we know that transformation in some of the sectors have been very slow. So I think enterprise and supply development actually offers this platform, both from those industries that are still trying to get their heads around transformation. This is a great place within which to do it. And also in terms of supporting the businesses, the impact of this into the economy, directly and indirectly, as well as from the economy as well as from the social element, is significant. I think we've seen how that flow through has come in, and I think it's just absolutely a no-brainer. It's the way we want to actually make a difference from a corporate perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting you say your view is not around the program itself, but potentially future clients. And I keep on finding that with you. It's you're looking at it holistically. It's not points. It's not scorecards. It's, hey, we're building our future suppliers and future clients. Like, we've got to get this stuff right. We've got to be agile. So I mean, I suppose the next question is really, what is the role and mindset shift in getting your hands dirty and simplifying the approach based on key drivers in each field, or co-creating associate human development? I mean, I suppose the point I'm asking is, if they're your future clients, what do other organizations need to do to make sure that they're agile enough to work with these entrepreneurs?
My perspective is that, when you talk about getting your hands dirty, it's really a metaphor for, do you care enough to take the time to understand what the opportunities are from an upstream and downstream perspective within your business sector? Because you really need to apply yourself, and then what is the best of it, what is the worst of it, and what can you do to make a difference? Can you use these opportunities to facilitate and drive changes in socially, economically, the social and economic spheres, whilst also uplifting businesses? So I think this takes some effort and engagement and learning and understanding. But when this learning and understanding is in place, just imagine the opportunities strategically to uplift and grow, and whatever it is that the sector focus is in terms of making a difference. And I mean, it's absolutely, like we said, common sense. It's working smarter. Whilst you're doing all of that, you're actually, adding to the bottom line.
Sure. And I mean, just quickly, because I know that your role is very collaborative and you work with industry players, procurement specialists, implementation agents, transformation. How do you prioritize the hands-on involvement rather than just being a training house? Because you've got all these things happening. I mean, it's not easy. I think you work with hundreds of different suppliers. How do you find that time to do this?
So it's actually doing a bit of homework, and like I mentioned, for the entrepreneurs, it's very same for one in the corporate environment. Understand, to be on top of your game, you need to know what's happening around you, internally, externally, and that means almost creating a point of balance where the two meets. What is it that's happening externally that poses wonderful opportunities that we as a business can actually tap in and leverage? So that's strategically, and really being smart about it and saying, what is the business focus? Is there propensity to support business in an enterprise and supply development program that meets the needs of the marketplace economy? And there's a win-win for all around.
Yeah, I'm seeing some of the chat coming through on the chat here, and I see some people giving their LinkedIn presentations, which is, I think, really important. And I think Nirmala will agree. Like, we're here to impart some knowledge and help people, but you're going to come away with some information from this, and we're going to answer some questions that you've asked here. But the relationships and the opportunities for you guys to collaborate and work together and do joint ventures, partnerships is really important as well. So, let us know in the chat a little bit about you. So who you are, what you do. So I don't mean like what you do, is like, what problem do you solve? Because that's what corporates and other organizations want to know. What problems do you solve? And then how they can get hold of you, so that you can also help one another. But moving on, because we're under some timeline challenges now, and it's sort of caught up with us a little bit. We've got a couple more questions for you, Nirmala, and then we're going to go through to the questions from the audience. But really, why is it important to start with the end in mind when you're doing these programs? And how do you involve key stakeholders from the beginning? Because you've got numerous stakeholders. You've got, procurement, you've got finance, you've got, marketing, you've got the different departments. And how do you make sure you're contributing to a better society? So, there is a a bit of accountability to you guys to making sure that you're also contributing and ensuring growth for all and making sustainable impact on both communities and environment. How are you doing that?
I think I'm also going to try and keep my responses succinct so we can get through questions. I did warn you, Ralph, that this is a space we can talk forever and a day. So, yes, I think starting with the end in mind is really the smart way to work, because you're almost working backwards. I think firstly, there's the budgetary element, which you need to know exactly how much you're allocating to an intervention. It gives you the space within which to plan. So you work backwards and you actually think, okay, what do you need to get to your end goal? It gives you the space to understand who are the relevant role players and what would the potential gaps be. So I think starting with the end in mind allows you the opportunity to create scenarios and then to decide which is the best one that's going to be a win-win for all, or which is the best scenario that is actually going to enable you to achieve your objectives. So I think you're able to, to basically plan it, and enables you to plan smarter and really to be able to keep as much as possible to your budget that you actually anticipated.
Okay, awesome. And I suppose, to my final question, how is Nedbank acting as a business coach for its customers, recognizing that the landscape is changing and the importance of the client's needs?
So I'm going to actually tap into some of our examples here, Ralph, if I may, some of our case studies and highlights. So I think we've had many, many wonderful stories to share. But specifically, I think I want to just tap on a few. One example is in our supply development program, and you're going to just see how Nedbank is acting more than just a coach or a mentor. We've actually, when we engage in our programs, and we as much as we focus on selection criteria, equally important is the what support is given, and then the exit strategy. So that's very important in terms of the sustainability component, and actually requires a lot of work before one exits a program. So we had in our supply development program a supplier that was a service provider to Nedbank and had quite a significant staff contingent. And I think what was exciting when we engaged with them is that the two business owners actually was very passionate about making a difference and bringing life changes and uplifting the standard of living for their employees. As part of their business development support, they reached a point where they evolved the business model to becoming a tandem franchise model. And what this meant is that they were able to select their top employees to become franchisees and own their own businesses. So the main company itself would still be responsible for securing work, etc., but would still have oversight in terms of quality. And then this would be delivered through the franchisees. So this was really exciting because what started out as a supply development program, which is the business itself, we then evolved to a second part of the program, which is the enterprise development part, where we actually looked at supporting the franchisees within the franchise, the tandem franchise model. So that's a great way to see. And I mean, we looked at end-to-end from the funding to the actual support and development, and the relationship still continues to this point.
And how many franchises?
Great example. Sorry, Ralph.
How many franchisees are they grown so far?
Was for 10 franchisees. That was the start.
Wow, that's crazy. Yes. So they've come on board. And so you use your expertise, your funding, your analytics to add extra value to this organization to help them to grow exponentially, I suppose.
Absolutely. And it comes back to your earlier question. It's actually being smart about it and actually looking at, potential opportunities. That's not just about enterprise and supply development here and now. It's about the longer, bigger term picture. And I think that's what's exciting. We spoke about the tourism program, which I mentioned, which is here. And then another exciting one, which there's a video as well. This is a great, great story. A supplier that across a period of time grew from a turnover of 1.5 million to 40 million. and now employs 680 staff. When you look at this, this was a great example of walking a journey. One of the things I didn't mention earlier on is that, and I think you did touch on it, Ralph, is that when we have program participants engage in a program, and when the program's done, there's still that ongoing touch points. We still do networking events. We still do training interventions where we invite them to participate, to join in. Many of them still do touch base with us. There's regular check-ins. There's always passing on opportunities in terms of potential business opportunities. So it never really ends. I think it's one of the uniqueness about how we do enterprise and supply development at Nedbank is that there's this ongoing engagement, and it really is a journey. I mean, what we're striving to do is look at ongoing growth and development. We are supporting and nurturing a client for life that is going to go through the ranks of from small business services to business banking to corporate and investment bank. We want them in for the long haul. But if you would allow me, I would love to play a video to showcase this business.
Yeah, I think we all want to see this video for sure.
Great.
Thank you, Namala. My name is Bongiwe Monagedi, the owner and the founder of Monabo Hygiene Services. The company, it does commercial cleaning, and we also do pest control. We also do deep cleaning. The company was founded in 2009, and it started with only 4 employees. And currently we're having around about 650 employees. The organization is operating nationwide. I learned a whole lot in terms of how to run the business, and also the difference between operating in the business and operating on the business. When I started with the program, our turnover was around about 1.5 million. Now we're sitting at 45 million. So the program enabled, positioned me with the right people, with the right skills, with good talent, which at the end of the day, I was able also to transfer the knowledge and the expertise that I learned from the program. After I exited the program, I kept those networks, the contacts that I have with the coaches and the facilitators that were helping me through the program. So for me, keeping that relationship and keeping in touch with those mentors, it also helped me, because these are the people now who are only a phone call away, and they are also people, they keep checking on me and in terms of how is the success of the business, or what are the challenges. In business, sometimes there will be those stressful moments. So the program also helped me in terms of also managing, running the business, running the family, making sure that the people that are looking up to you are also looked after. 90% of my employees, it's people that are coming from the lower end of the market. So what we also do is to invest in our people's training and development, and also we've got 10 kids that we have in the bursaries for, who are also, their parents are working for Monabo.
Wow. No, what comes to mind is, great entrepreneurs aren't scared to pick up the phone and ask for help. And building relationships is certainly part of that, with people who have either proven to give you help, or organizations like Nedbank. I know that you can't help everybody, but it doesn't stop people from getting in touch with you. And I think that's what we're trying to help. There's only so much we can do, Nedbank can do, but certainly that expertise we're happy to share. I want to go into some of the questions. I saw some in the chat. I mean, I'm really grateful for people telling us about their business, telling us about the challenges they help organizations overcome. I see some people sort of communicating already. Share your LinkedIn profiles. But I think we're all intrigued, what, I'm not sure who asked it in the chat, but certainly I'll go there first, then we go to the Q&A. But what is the criteria? How do these organizations who are part of this be part of Nedbank Supply? Maybe they will, you've got 500 people that want to come and join you by the sounds of things.
Yes, I see that. I'm just opening my Q&A box now. Yeah,
you're popular. You're popular.
Yes.
You got all the money. That's why, maybe.
So I think there's definitely a platform. What I can suggest is that businesses send their profiles through to ed@nedbank.co.za. We will then make sure that that your information gets sent to the transformation division within procurement, and that someone will be in contact. I mean, I think it's the norm in the current day and age that organizations are, doing a lot of, whilst there's huge transformation drives, we're also, looking at costs and how do we streamline and create efficiencies. So there's definitely strategies happening as well. And I think I would prefer to align with procurement and let's just take it, because having said that, I mean, there may be businesses that would be very relevant to Nedbank supply chain where there's a need here and now. So I would like to redirect that to procurement itself, and then we can work with the businesses directly.
Right. And is there any criteria that you're looking for that you think organizations stand out with? Is there something? Is it like we spoke about earlier? Is it their experience? Is it their, who they've worked for before? I mean, is it a role like, I know numerous organizations have won business awards with us. And there's a gentleman by the name of Lance Vanneroff. And he started off and I think he tried to do some free IT work for one of the big corporates. And he didn't quite get that right, but he then ended up doing some IT work for one of the big multinational shipping companies. And the IT work really was storing 2 computers and looking after those 2 computers. But he said he's got a contract with the shipping company. So, is it about that? Is it about offering to do things sometimes at a reduced price and just getting in the door?
I don't think it's offering to do it at a reduced price as much as it's applying your mind and thinking out of the box and in an innovative manner that actually strikes, out and where it's doing things differently, maybe even in a way that the organization has not thought about. It's literally looking at the organization's challenges and problems and saying, do I have a role to play in solving that, or can I be a part of the solution? I think that's more like it's to really have that clear understanding of who your potential clients are. What is the environment within which they're operating? I mean, if you look at Nedbank, for example, we're a bank. There's an understanding of the range of products and services we would need. So, do your work and do your research and get a sense of what is happening in that space and what is available, what is Nedbank engaging in, and from there, apply your mind and think about how can you do things differently? How can you stand out amidst, if you, for example, offering a particular service or product and there's thousands others, what makes you different? And take the time and effort to think about positioning yourself differently. You'll be amazed at how the smallest little thing, there's this, in the personal mastery space, they say, do one little thing differently, and then you see your whole world changing. So similarly, within your business environment, when you're looking for new clients and you want to get into supply chains, do things differently, be bold and courageous, step out of the comfort zone and think differently. Package your solutions differently, and look at how, even if it's with partnering with other organizations or other companies, other businesses, does it open new markets for you? Does it create? Does it offer just a small tweak on your product and service? Is their propensity to open whole new markets to you, and maybe even market access that previously you were not able to participate in through partnerships or through slight little tweaks of your products and services. Suddenly you have a whole new arena open to you. So I think it's really doing things differently, and we have to start thinking differently around how we're doing this. So I think, Ralph, as a bank, I think it is. In terms of our procurement requirements, it's standard to any other financial institution, but it really is about understanding what is it that you are going to offer and that will make you stand out.
Yeah, I often think of that we talk around the features. This is what we do, but we don't talk about the benefits to the organization. How you're making their life simpler, easier, quicker, speedier. And I think if you spent time on all your features and you added 4 or 5 benefits to each feature, I think that's one way. I think people also need to be focused in on making their offer so compelling that an organization couldn't say no to it. There's something around relationships and people. And I think what we've learned is that we do work with Nedbank, and I think we pride ourselves on making their life easier, adding value wherever we can. And I think that no one likes to work with arseholes or people who are hard to work with. You got to make yourself, you got to build those relationships as well. So that's sort of my thoughts on that. I mean, there's a number of people saying, how do we get on your database? How do we register as a vendor? So that's Temba. Soraya is saying, how does Design 26 register become a supplier or considered for procurement opportunities? And maybe Anonymous says, how do you see businesses fitting in your value chain? If you have like an ICT service business, for example.
So I think
maybe you want to try and,
yes,
I think you've sort of answered those, if I'm honest.
Yes. I think when you look at the more
So let's go to Nolan. Go ahead. Go. No.
Okay.
So,
sorry, there seems to be a lag. Sorry. I was saying that I think I'm very happy for businesses to submit their profiles to ed@nedbank.co.za, and we'll make sure that it gets the correct department and they will be contacting you. I think when we're talking ICT, from more the strategic components of the bank, as we know, that is more the higher strategic elements that, is normally not as easy to integrate there because of systems, etc. But I think once again, as my answer just now, if how do you think differently to position yourself, and that would require more sort of strategic engagement, and we would also engage procurement within that area of the bank to actually where we would link you up with in terms of opportunities.
Cool, thank you. Nolan Pillay from 360, I think Mindset. Hi, is there a document that we can look at that indicates if we qualify to start a discussion with Nedbank on projects that are impacting our fellow South Africans? Good question, Nolan.
So I think, Nolan, when you look at the framework for enterprise and supply development, I think you would have a good understanding of what is allowed and what isn't. So as long as it's not falling into the SED space or CSI space, then very happy you would know the actual criteria that constitutes for enterprise and supply development. So very happy to receive your proposal, or at least a high-level document, so that we can get a sense of that you are at the right area of the bank, and you can also send that off to ed@nedbank.co.za.
Cool, thank you. Anonymous again. Can we get newsletters on ESD and mentorship and training on this, please? Yes, we do have a newsletter. So we actually do, Topco does a weekly newsletter that we share these sort of insights from award-winning companies. So if you sign up on Topco, good question. Must have been a Topco representative asked this question. But yes, we certainly do have these case studies. So if you want more of this, you can most certainly subscribe to Topco, and you'll get a whole host of these sort of material. Okay, so let's go to Aziz. how best can one identify and evaluate the challenges of implementing an ESD program to ensure credibility and acceptance when communicated to key stakeholders, mentored organization, funders, mentors, and client customers? Quite a long question.
Simulate the question quickly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different components in that one question there.
Yeah. I think it's
Okay.
identify and evaluate the challenges of implementing ESD programs. So, as this obviously is trying to, he's got a program himself. Would people be best served to questions like that, colleagues in this space, to get hold of you on LinkedIn? Would that be a good channel to get hold of you for? So if it's colleagues looking for insight into what to do in their own programs, possibly link in with you on LinkedIn. We'll try and find that link. If not, we'll send it later so that people can link in with you. Okay.
Great.
Mr. Malaluka, sir. Hi, Mrs. Reddy, Mr. Malaluka from the Incubation Hub. Hello. Are you still planning on bringing the Township Enterprise Development to Soweto, and how do small businesses apply? Great question.
So there are various initiatives that are currently underway. So, and I do know Mr. Maluleka. So I think he's, will definitely, he should have access to the information. So we will definitely send it to him. Yeah.
He's obviously letting people know that there will be a Township Enterprise Development in Soweto. So yeah. Maybe if you've got the link, Mr. Malaluka, you can share that as well in the chat. That'd be great. Okay, Anonymous again. Would you consider a first-time fund manager on the ESD program?
So I think that's also one that is a bigger, broader discussion that would perhaps be taken directly, but there's other role players as well there for that one.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that. And then how does one become part of the program, and what are the requirements of joining? I think we've mentioned this a couple of times. Go to ed@nedbank.coza, apply as a supplier, and there'll be the communication channels will start to open up quickly there. Out of interest, how many people do you get applying a year? Is it thousands, hundreds?
It's quite a wide range, Ralph. It just depends the program, the sector, some are very, very focused, very specific. I mean, with the Women in Tourism program, we had 1,400 applicants, and we filtered that down to 400, and we interviewed every single one of the 400 to get to the 225.
Wow. So there was 225 that benefited. So that's quite a good chance, 1 in 4. So it's worth applying. I think that's the Makotso said, good morning. How does one join? I think we've answered that. So thank you. Mr. Malaluka, again, we did the 2 years enterprise development in partnership with Nedbank, and approximately 120 entrepreneurs benefited from this funding and business development knowledge and literacy. At Mrs. Reddy, do you think such program would be launched again?
That was a specific initiative that he's talking about, and we have had many more programs subsequently evolved from there. So yes, there are plenty on the go at the moment.
Okay, so it's ever evolving, ever developing. Okay, awesome. So there's lots for people to get involved in. Question from Aisha Azia, sorry. Does Nedbank focus on manufacturing more so than service businesses? I feel there are many gatekeepers when trying to get on the supply chain, and so much red tape.
I think we have equal focus, definitely services as well as manufacturing. So I think it just depends which part of it that you want to fund. We definitely have, focus on that in terms of dedicated teams as well. So there's something specifically, please email at ed@nedbank, and we'll make sure that you are in touch with the right person.
I think my advice is go through the process, make sure you follow the process, and then use tools like LinkedIn, use events where some of the people from Nedbank who are running these programs are maybe speaking and engaging, like here. You're getting the insights, you're learning about what's important to them. And there's gatekeepers for a reason. So you gotta you gotta lean into what separates you from everybody else. The benefits of doing business with you. That's be my suggestion. Eva, Shane, but don't give up. That's what I would also say. If you get a couple of no's, it's not the end of the world. Keep on trying, innovate, change, adapt. Okay, so Eva, how do we join? I need guidance more than just finding. Oh, yeah, Eva, you've got to go through the process, I'm afraid, my dear. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It's the doing where you learn. And the rejection's not the end of the world. It means you've got to try a bit harder or do something or speak to other people who are getting in, speak to other organizations. We've given a couple of examples as well in the presentation. It's about speaking to those organizations as well, speaking to suppliers who are already part of Nedbank and asking them or other organizations. So improving your network and asking what they do and how they stand out is really important as well. Anything else you want to add there?
No, I think also just, I mentioned earlier on, just being on top of your game. You would find there's a lot more opportunities that would eventually get you to where you need to be, but you have to start somewhere. And sometimes it actually means doing a little bit of homework and trying to see what else you can do. So just keep at it and really do a lot of research and a lot more to understand the space within which you're operating.
Ooh. Susan, good morning. We have to go through the ESD program, or you can assist in considering our companies to your supply chain open tenders or the procurers to go through the ESD process only after ESD. Yeah, I think she's asking, can you help her get through it earlier? I think there's a process and organizations, there's rigor, and I think that there's transparency in that. So, go through the process as I suggested, and again, network with other organizations and ask them. You have open days, that sort of stuff as well for tenders and procurement. So join those, right?
Yes. And also just to add to that, Ralph, there's, it's not just about, going like whether it's open or closed tender. It's also the relevance that you play in terms of an organization that you want to be a part of their supply chain too. So as we know, all companies have to integrate EMEs and QSEs into their supply chain. So it's not that there is, they're not open for business. They very much are. I still come back to the fact that you need to understand what are the requirements, what is the nature of the organization, and do your homework and make yourself relevant to that space so that you would be an automatic fit for it.
Okay. We've got 2 minutes left, so we've got to try and rush through these questions as much as possible. Rilla Bakhile, who was the proponent of the pitchpreneur. So you've got my attention. What role does design thinking play in the ESD programs that are designed?
That's a great one. A very big role.
I like it.
Yes, very big role. It gives us space to create scenarios. It gives us the opportunity to make more decisions, smarter decisions, to factor for things that we hadn't. So a big role, a big role.
Cool. Thank you for that. Keba, really interesting question here. With all the 26 billion, I suppose that's rands, available in ESD funding support per annum, why is there such a high failure rate in SMMEs? Well, we know that it's high all over the world. It's not just in South Africa, but why is it high? What can we do to reduce that?
I think there's various components. That's one I think definitely not going to be able to accommodate in 1 minute, Ralph. But I think that definitely needs to be a lot more collaboration. I think that everyone's trying to make the effort in the right direction. Definitely, there's a lot of work being done around that. I think previously, yes, there was a lot of ED spend. I can speak for ED only here. That it was done in isolation. But I think things are definitely changing. It's in everyone's best interest that this works. And I think that means collaboration and speaking to each other and understanding we've got to know what's going on in our own backyard and working in synergy and towards the common objectives.
Okay. Anonymous, what is the application process? We've done that, I think, exhaustively. Please, can we have the email repeated? It is ed@nedbank.co.za. Put that in the chat. We'll send it to you later as well as a recording. Jackie, we are an HR consulting company offering end-to-end bespoke solution. We would like an opportunity to work with Nedbank. You know what to do, Jackie. Apply. Thanks for joining us, Jackie, and the best of luck to RN Resources. Okay, Nolan's again, great, thank you. Oh, great, Nolan. I see that you've put something about mindset in there as well. No's are closer to a yes, I think, something like that. Nukulunga, absolutely incredible how Nedbank's approach SED. Thank you so much for that. Do you have a time frame that is set for working with ED, especially those micro enterprises that you take on as mentees? And what have been the biggest challenges in working with smaller businesses? I think we're going to have to use this as the last one to wrap it up because we are out of time.
Right. I think it depends the program. It depends what the actual intervention is and support to the mentee businesses. And it's also not uncommon for us to extend it into an additional term if there's a need and the business can benefit from it. So it's really about a customized approach for the actual business itself. Thank you, Ralph.
Everybody, I just want to firstly thank Nirmala for her time, her expertise, sharing her trade secrets, her insights. Thank you all for joining. We will be sharing this with you. It was great to get your insights in terms of the polls. Thank you all for joining, and thank you, Nirmala. Can we all give Nirmala a round of applause virtually or in the chat? It would be fantastic. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ralph.